if we do see that inflation expectations are moving up, or inflation is on a path to remain well above our our goals and risk of setting us off on a period of high inflation, then we'll use our tools to guide inflation back down to 2%. So in the end, it's not going to be. In the end, it will be transitory, and people need to have faith in the central bank that we will do that. But we won't do it just because we honestly, it would be a mistake to do it at a time when we really do believe, and virtually all forecasters do believe, that these things will come down of their own accord as the economy reopens. It would be a mistake to act prematurely. So we really have to weigh the risks of the two things. And at a certain point, the risks may flip. But right now, the risks to me are clear.
But those pressures are likely to be temporary, as they are associated with the reopening process. And an episode of one-time price increases as the economy reopens is not the same thing as, and is not likely to lead to, persistently higher year-over-year inflation into the future, inflation at levels that are not consistent with our goal of 2% inflation over time. Indeed, it is the Fed's job to make sure that that does not happen. If, contrary to expectations, inflation were to move persistently and materially above 2% in a manner that threatened to move in longer-term inflation expectations materially above 2%, we would use our tools to bring inflation and expectations down to mandate consistency.
That inflation would be transitory. What I was not anticipating was a scenario in which we would end up contending with multiple variants of COVID. I was not envisioning impacts on food and energy prices we've seen from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So as Chair Powell indicated himself, both of us probably could have used a better term than transitory. I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks.
The reason we have inflation in the United States, or for that matter anywhere in the world, is because these pieces of paper and the accompanying book entries, or their counterparts in other nations, are growing more rapidly than the quantity of goods and services produced. The truth is, inflation is made in one place and one place only, here in Washington. This is the only place where there are presses like this that turn out these pieces of paper we call money. This is a place where the power resides to determine how rapidly the amount of money shall increase. What happened to all that noise? That's what would happen to inflation if we stopped letting the amount of money grow so rapidly. This is not a new idea. It's not a new cure. It's not a new problem. It's happened over and over again in history. Sometimes inflation has been cured this way on purpose. Sometimes it's happened by accident. During the Civil War, the North, late in the Civil War, overran the place in the South where the printing presses were setting up, where the pieces of paper were being turned out. Prior to that point, the South had had a very rapid inflation. If my memory serves me right, something like 4% a month. It took the Confederacy something over 2 weeks to find a new place where they could set up their printing presses and start them going again. During that 2-week period, inflation came to a halt. After the 2-week period, when the presses started running again, inflation started up again. It's that clear, that straightforward.
Rates for the first time since 2018, that 25 basis point or quarter point increase coming, and the Fed says 6 more are to come this year as it works to combat inflation.
Of a percentage point. It's the first increase since 2018, and for more on it, let's bring in CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
I think the curve pool was imbalanced because somebody had done like a very large trade. So I think the initial trade was like $84 million, and then collectively it had built up to like a few $100 million. But then like the sentiment on Twitter started to get worse, and then there started to be more people that were trading against the curve pools. So the amount of sell pressure that we were seeing, started to get worse and worse. So we started to put together a $2 billion round, like in the middle of the night, and the news leaked. Once the news leaked, we started to see massive shorts pile up against Luna. So the value of the tokens that we were ready to sell just basically got decimated.
When the deal didn't come through, what was the situation in the war room at that point?
When I was trying to do the round, it wasn't so much that I thought like the peg would be irrecoverable. So, like, you got to understand, like, I've been through multiple of these crises before, and then the peg always recovered.
FTX's headquarters to talk about his role as the industry's lender of last resort.
We only had a few days to make some of these decisions. What we basically came to believe was the following. The first was that, if possible, it would be extremely valuable to the ecosystem to backstop some of these places. First of all, it's just backstopping customers and making sure they're protected. But second of all, stopping contagion from spreading through the ecosystem, right? Stopping it from being the case that anyone who transitively did business with any chain of people who did business with one of the troubled assets themselves became troubled. And the last thing that I'll say is, if you look at what precipitated some of the 2008 financial crisis, you saw a number of bilateral, bespoke, non-reported transactions happening between financial counterparties, which then got repackaged and re-leveraged again and again and again, such that no one knew how much risk was in that system until it all fell apart.
And this is a live look at in the Bahamas. This is Sam Bankman-Fried. You see him there exiting the courthouse. He has been ordered to report back to prison, where he will be held until February 8th. So Sam Bankman-Fried denied bail, and here he is exiting that courthouse. Apparently, in response to the decision, he hugged his parents, he shrugged his shoulders, he was visibly disappointed. Here he is in the custody of the Bahamian authorities. The judge jailing the FTX founder until the case resumes again on February 8th. So we will continue watching this story for you.
Sam Bankman-Fried is walking out of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, Tyler, where he just posted a $250 million bail. Now, that number is raising tons of eyebrows over the size of it. It's one of the biggest we've seen for a situation like this. Where the funds came from, as Mackenzie Sigalos reported last hour, they are in part secured by real estate owned by his parents. His parents also had to co-sign for this bail. This is the blue suit he's been wearing, as by all reports, in so many of these appearances lately. But here we seem to be getting some of the first pictures of him back on U.S. soil.
And the terms of his bail, as I saw in the last hour, include a tracking device, a forfeiture of his passport, and other location monitoring, home detection, so on and so forth, that could, and I assume he will be restricted to probably the tri-state area. Who knows?
I think she said Northern California.
Oh, is that right?
And the understanding is, I believe he's been living with his parents in the near term. But again, it is a very, very large bail that he has just posted. And now we're able to finally get a look at him after only seeing and hearing reports about his demeanor throughout the course of this extradition period in the previous days.
Yeah.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And 2022 comes to an end. And we know New Year's is in September. But 2022 ended the Shmita year. And again on Shmita year, stocks and cryptos took a beating. And we know 2023 and 2024 is going to be even worse, because they have to destroy this legacy market in order to give the fourth industrial revolution rise. And guys, we know all the distractions that are going on. We have war, we have the Fed, we have the energy crisis, food crisis, and we know the Hegelian dialectic is about to start. The NWO is going to throw out plenty of magic tricks. Do not fall for the illusions. And remember, they only need one more crisis to enslave the masses. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
we're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy. And it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.